Fabi, Lara, welcome to F.A.C.E. Finally happening. How are you?
I am good. It's nice to finally be able to speak to you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. And I know you sent me a DM on Twitter that you're not as technical as we are, but the
Facts.
next big rush is your business, and where you I saw some nice videos, etc. How do you get involved in the financial markets? Has it been a while? What led you in this direction?
So I usually joke and say I got into this by buying silver at the very top. And so it was a tough lesson because my first array into trying to make money out of anything what seemed like a great success at the time for maybe 9 months, and then it just slowly tore me to pieces. Obviously, at the time I was in my early 20s, and so it didn't hurt as much because I didn't have that much money to put on the line to begin with. But
Right.
in looking at the narrative versus what was actually going on with the price action of silver and gold prices, I realized that obviously narrative is not enough. It's a big part of it. And there are a lot of people that can make big money with narrative as long as they got their timing decently correct.
Right.
But it was right at that turn. And so as things turned, I realized that the mining sector is actually where I found my home, you could say. And this is what I've been doing, since then, investing in. I actually prefer the term speculating in the mining
Yeah.
sector due
Yeah.
to
That's a better,
the
more accurate.
it really is.
That,
It really is due
yeah.
to the nature of mining. It is such a tough science. In some
It,
instances, you could barely call it a science, right? There are so many unknowns that it's very easy to get caught up in just the narrative, or to read the sentiment wrong, and to not understand where you are in the cycle. And so started with mining right after, I saw all my losses in silver. I actually did not sell most of my silver. I still have the coins somewhere in a drawer, but it taught me a great lesson of yes, uh, things go up, but things also come down. And so I've been doing that ever since. And the next big rush, I guess it's a brand that I've built around the mining sector. And I try
okay.
to bring daily news of the mining sector to people who are invested in the mining sector or would like to, start investing in the sector. And it's wild. You can have the whole market come down with sentiment or with basically the price of the commodity. And you'll
Yeah.
have a few projects that are absolutely killing it because they're going from we don't have any gold or silver to
Right.
yes, we have some gold and silver. And so that leverage is something that's quite exciting.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about that. Do you know what Mark Twain, how he defined a mine? Mark Twain?
Yes, a liar on
Two
top of it.
liars standing over a hole. So anyway, you're right. There's lots of holes you could fall into. Uh, so is it true that you want to avoid miners when they decide to begin a mine during that time period that they're more under pressure and it could be good for them longer term, but there's more risk when they're starting a new mine. Is that correct?
I would tend to agree with that. We have a recent example in a company called Pure Gold. And it hurts my heart to say this because it was the darling of, I think, 2018, 2019.
What
Everybody
was the
was in
name of the
Pure
company
Gold.
again?
Pure Gold. It's in
Pure Gold.
Canada.
Okay.
Yeah, Pure
Okay.
Gold in Canada.
All right.
And it turned out that there were enough technical details about it that weren't right, and they actually raised the money, got to a very high price, a very decent market cap. And they have, I think they got up to 1 billion, don't quote me on this, but I think they got as far as a billion or half a billion market cap. And they have just recently been sold for
Yeah.
30 million or something like
Yeah.
this. It didn't work out, and this was a good team behind it, or so we thought up until
What
that
was the
point.
problem? What was the problem with them?
So the problem in and of itself was where the veins were. and how much it costs them to actually get
Okay.
to the ore versus waste, right? And this is what people
Yeah.
need to understand. I think the first thing to understand is, where are you investing? Are you going for, those junior miners who really shouldn't be called miners at all, who are still looking for the mineral?
Exploratory.
Exactly. So you have
Right.
the explorers and you have early stage versus late
Right.
stage explorers. The late stage
Yeah.
explorers, they have delineated a resource and they need to figure out, is it something that will be worth building or not? Right. So that's the question that they're trying to answer. But then when they're developing it, if it's the same team, you have a problem where it takes a lot of specific technical knowledge in order to delineate the resource in the first place. And those are usually not the same people who can actually mine the stuff out of the ground. It's more of an engineering leadership. And then on top of that, you have third-party companies that come in and try to help the company envision what they have in the ground. And it's partly guesswork, right? We find minerals by drilling holes as if it were the 1800s. And
Right.
we were trying to dig holes around a large enough area where we can say we can build a mine. And you need to have high enough grade, close enough to the surface, or you need to use a mining technique that will be cheap enough for you to extract it at a profit. And if you get enough of these things wrong, then you end up with a resource that's not economic.
Right.
And that also depends on, is the problem that you don't have the gold that you thought you had because you drill one hole here and one hole here, and you're assuming there's gold between those. That's one mistake that can happen. Third-party companies, sometimes they are a little bit optimistic in what they're finding in their geological models, and that could happen. And so when a third party says, hey, you have this much gold and you're going to make a bunch of money from it, it's very easy to take that at face value and not, ask for a second opinion or contact somebody who's in mining engineering and see what literally the holes are, because there are usually many. Now, what I like to do is grab the late exploration stage, when we already have an idea of the resource that we have, but we're not too close to going into production. Because when you try to go into production, yes, all sorts of bad things can happen.
Okay, so late stage before they go into production. And there are juniors that are, like BTG and gold mine, talking about a gold miner, that they're producing. There's less risk, right? Unless something happens at one of the mines.
Absolutely.
They could still lose money. There's factors like energy that come into play, the cost of production. But aren't most of the gold miners making money above 1,000, 1,200 gold? They're printing money right now.
A lot of them are, and gold today is what, 2,000 or just under $2,000 per ounce. So at that level, if you have a mine that doesn't make money at this level, that is a massive red flag. That means that it's probably going to be in the back burner for a couple of decades or several years. Most miners can make decent cash right now. I do believe that in general, producers, their weakest point at the moment isn't even the fact that they're making money. They're making decent money. It's the fact that their exploration pipeline is very thin. So we've had, I guess you could call, under exploration or a lack of investment in exploration for such a long time.
Oh yeah, isn't that really that's been going on for a long time, trying to open a mine. And it's not just here in the US, it's global.
It's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. Nobody wants a mine in their backyard. Mostly,
I
right?
wouldn't mind.
I wouldn't mind, but we're made of different stuff, Dale. We're at a different playing field altogether.
I would go up and down the shaft and
absolutely, we'd probably get stuck in there and become very famous very quickly. But other than just the whole NIMBY way of thinking of, we don't want mining close to us, there's just the natural permitting. In not just in the US, but most of the Western world, it will take you a good I don't know, 10 years from first discovery
Yeah.
of mineral to actually getting the mine permitted and then producing. You have so many stages that you have to go through.
So we're
And
going to
it's
have shortages of everything. And you know what I gleaned from you when I've read your stream is that you favor right now, or you have a long-term bullish view on uranium.
uranium,
Am
absolutely.
I am I reading it
It's my,
correctly? That
yes, I'm the
uh,
uranium girl.
you know, you're the uranium girl. You're glowing on camera right now.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I love it.
tell us why. Is it really about the energy crisis and that we're really not going to have many options besides nuclear, and uranium is
It's a mixture of
underinvested?
many things. That those are
Okay.
absolutely correct. So it's a mixture of the fact that as humans grow in number, and also as we grow in wealth, we will need more electricity all over the globe, period, end of story. So it used to be that we could get away with doing things on paper
Yeah.
and, in a more analog way. That has quickly shifted, especially after COVID, and the fact that everybody needs to, work from home, and then you got to buy a new computer. What's in that computer? A lot of minerals,
Yeah.
or people driving to and from different places, people going back to their normal way of living. And the fact that my generation, for instance, values experiences and traveling a lot more than they do owning homes and cars and everything. It means that we need to be more mobile. We're using a lot of oil. Oil is painfully underinvested right now, infrastructure wise. And so the same goes with mining, right? Because the regulation and the permitting hasn't caught up with the needs that we have. And so with uranium specifically, you have a generation that is hungry for electricity. You have China and India and all of these countries where their population is in part due to the internet growing in wealth. And, when all you have is maybe a bicycle, the next thing that you want is a motorcycle. From that, you want a
Right.
car. And you know what? For that car, it might be that by the time that people are buying into more cars in India, that they're buying electric cars and not, ICE vehicles as we know them. And electric cars take a lot more copper. And so everything is
Copper.
necessary. But specifically, the reason why I like uranium is when we talk about copper, cobalt, etc. Yes, there is likely going to be a shortage of them. And when we say shortage, anything can be done at the right price, right? And so I do believe that for all these minerals, we will have to just simply pay more for them. And a lot of them don't have, an alternative metal. And so we will have to pay more for copper. We'll have to pay more for nickel, cobalt, etc. The thing with uranium is that it has been, because of Fukushima back in 2011, that
Yeah.
disaster in Japan, the prices got so low that no production came online. And what we see today is something that we don't see everywhere else. So bear with me for a second. When we talk about more copper, it increases with the amount of items that we're producing. So if we, instead of making an old car, with X amount of copper, we're making an EV with, let's say, 3 to 4 times as much copper. Okay. The thing with that is we can look at the demand and supply, and we can sort of guess where it's going based on, growth curves, etc. With uranium, not just do you see the highest amount of new power plants being announced, planned, and built than we've ever seen. This has been a movement for about the last 2 to 3 years. And so you look at the United States want to triple capacity until 2050. You look at China doubling their capacity until 2030. You look at Poland. You look at different places in Asia, the Middle East, all also going in very strong. Whenever that happens, you have to take a look at something that we call underfeeding and overfeeding. So basically, when you have uranium, and I'm oversimplifying this because it would take too long to get into the technicals, and it doesn't matter.
That's okay. I'm a
When
simple tongue.
when you take uranium, right, in yellow cake, you have to make it go through a series of different processes until you actually get the nuclear fuel. You don't just take uranium and put it into a nuclear power plant. Now, one of these processes is basically enriching, right? When you're enriching the uranium, you're taking out, all the waste and all the parts that, don't actually make the reactor go anywhere. And you need a concentration of uranium that is fit for that particular type of nuclear reactor. Now, in that process, what used to happen, call it a year, 2 years ago, is because the demand for uranium was quite mild, and because people stopped buying way back when Fukushima happened and they were living off their stockpiles and everything, they had enough supply. What was happening is you had a low amount of output, the same capacity, and what you did is you also needed a low amount of input. How does that work? Say you're taking oranges and you need enough orange juice to make a cup of orange juice. Well, if you have capacity and a lot of time to fill that contract, then what you do is you just basically squeeze it more and more and more and more. And so the time that you have in order to make good on that contract makes it so that you don't need that much orange material in order to make the juice, because you can just squeeze it a little more and you have time to squeeze it a little more and squeeze it a little more, right? What we have now is the opposite. So there's more demand than the last couple of years by a lot.
And everything's squeezed out.
And everything is squeezed out. And so you need more input at the beginning of your process in order to get the same amount of orange juice or nuclear fuel. And so it kind of exacerbates the need for more uranium. So it's that kind of lever of when things are bad, they're really bad. When things are good, you cannot build nuclear enrichment capacity quickly enough to make up for the fact that you need more and more and more and more output. And so what you do, you have to get more uranium into your system. So it's not just the fact that, yes, more uranium is being needed and more contracting is starting to pick up. Right now, I think we have 88 million pounds of contracted uranium for the year of 2023 already in the books. And then last year, you had 100 million for the whole year. So we're at 88 already versus 100 million for all of last year. So you see utilities coming back to the table and contracting more than you did the last couple of years. But not only do they need more material, the enrichers need more material to actually make the same amount of output. And that's what's really exciting about uranium.
Okay,
and everybody hated it for so long that it got excited.
So it's the next big rush. Okay. And this I'm showing your website and some of the videos you've made. Does uranium have the same issues about jurisdictions? I know a lot of people don't want to own gold that when mines are in certain areas geographically,
it's
fear of
even
nationalization.
Worse. So with uranium, it's even worse because it's radioactive material.
Right.
And
that, I can imagine.
Even if it's not radioactive, when you go into a mine, people don't care, right? The governments need to not only have their safety regulations in place, they need to make it look like it's safe towards the population. And so with uranium, you have longer permitting times. And so it's even harder to get a permitted, ready to go uranium mine compared to copper or gold or anything else, which means that there hasn't been really any supply for the last any amount of years. And so this actually makes the case even stronger because new supply is not going to come online anytime soon. I'm looking at projects that should be close to being financed and their economics just aren't good enough for them to be pumping out more uranium. And so the price of uranium has just started to pick up again. It was as low as $18 per pound. It reached as high as 60, and now, we traded sideways in the 50 range, the low 50 range, for a very long time. It really looked like it wasn't going to go anywhere, and now we've just broken out, and so we're at 53.50, I think, today. And so
Interesting.
we do believe that this breakout could be the start of something really exciting.
Could I ask you something for me,
Ask
selfishly?
away, ask anything.
I'm pretty bullish at platinum. Do you know
Mhm.
of any platinum mines? Are there any public companies where you could participate in platinum that's not in
Um,
Russia?
That's a big question, not in Russia. So I believe that Bravo Mining has a platinum and palladium
Uh,
component. It's worth
where's
looking
that
into.
traded?
They're traded in Canada, located in Brazil. Now,
Uh,
it's good to check if they actually have platinum. Platinum
yeah,
usually occurs as one of the minerals.
byproduct.
Yeah, exactly, inside an ore body. It's I don't remember seeing it on its own, so it's usually mixed with something. I really like I'm not associated with the company, and I don't even own their stock yet, but I really like the team. It's the kind of team that has actually built something good before, and they're trying to do it again. They got a project that was kind of, forgotten by a major mining company, and they've been able to, so far drill that stuff out and find the good stuff. I know that they were finding lots of nickel. I don't know
Okay.
if, platinum and palladium is part of that, but it's something that you should look at. There is also a uranium company that, let me check. There's a uranium company that wanted to spin out their PGM. Uh, it
Okay.
always escapes me the name of this one company. There's a company that's just
So
sold
do
uranium
you have
projects.
a like a paid newsletter? Are you looking for subscribers? What's your business model?
Okay, so my business model is that whenever I find a company that I'm happy to be associated with, and that I would, myself buy the stock, if they like, my work and the exposure that I get, then I get
I see.
sponsored by the company. And obviously I disclaim every time that I look at the company. And what it allows the company to do is basically every single time that they have news that is
Yeah.
interesting and important, then they
It's
come
like
onto my
you're an
show.
IR. You're an
Yeah,
IR person
exactly.
for them.
Exactly. I let more people know what's happening with a company. And so in
Okay.
mining, it's very, very difficult to get people's attention, especially if you're not getting absolute crazy
Yeah.
headlines for
Yeah.
drill results. And so you might be getting drill results that are good, but they're good in the context that you're building. And so the headline sometimes doesn't get enough people's attention. And so what I do is I work with these companies to show people what's happening and to let people
Okay.
understand that, what, this result doesn't look like much, but in the whole context, it's really interesting. This is why I think it's undervalued, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my business model.
Okay. Well, this interview to me is like mining because you're a discovery. Yeah. All right.
I'll
So
take that as a good thing. Thank you.
you've been discovered, Fabi, and I really think that I'd love to keep in touch with you and have you back. And I'm very impressed with your knowledge of a very difficult area to be able to explain to the general public. So
Thank you very much.
you're now my trading warrior sister.
Awesome. I'll be
All
happy to
right.
come back. Thank you very much. And by the way, people should go and follow me on Twitter if they want the
Yeah.
name of the company that also has
At the next big rush.
yes,
At
at the
the
next big
net.
rush. And
Yeah.
I'm not doing this as a marketing trick. I just seriously cannot find the name of the company. So this is it.
All right. So, someone who puts her money where her heart is. How about that?
Absolutely.
So,
I win and I lose, and y'all get to see it.
all right. So, Fabi, great meeting you, and I appreciate you, taking the risk of being on with me. And I knew it would be excellent, and it was.
Not a
Thank you
problem,
very
Dale. Let's do
much.
this again soon.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
That's Fabi Lara, everybody. And that's a wrap for us here today. And you could join the team in, let's see, 17 minutes on the Morning Edge. Don't just count your pips. Come on. What are you supposed to count? That's right. Count your blessings. See you, Mandy. Adios, everyone.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.